What's up, and welcome to the Dual Sense Podcast. This is episode 118. I am one of your co hosts. My name is Jason. I'm joined, as always, by your other co host, whose name this morning is Dr. Sackrider. Dr.
Mhm.
Sackrider, also known as Travis. How are you this morning?
I'm fine. I had a muffin, so I'm
hmm
gonna be hungry in about 10 minutes, but I'm good to go.
Well, you've got you've got longer than 10 minutes with me, so I hope you can make it.
I hope so. Most people don't like it when you only give them 10 minutes.
Yeah, like women, like
Mhm.
wives,
Mhm.
for instance. Yeah. Well, I've made a cup of coffee. I did not have a muffin. I've got my breakfast blend with my Hershey's chocolate caramel creamer. It's
Mhm.
wonderful. So that's going to be my breakfast this morning.
Mhm.
Sounds like you really enjoy that. And we're going to talk about some PlayStation news today. For those that are not familiar, we are a weekly podcast where Travis and I get together and we discuss all of the week's news, rumors, new game releases, and much more in the world of PlayStation. We do it all in under 90 minutes, and we post new episodes on Monday on all of the usual podcast services, as well as YouTube, where we post gameplay videos as well. Occasionally, we've slowed down a little bit there, but I need to make a conscious effort to do better, and so do you. Fuck you. So I've actually got a video ready to upload. I just haven't done it yet, so I'll get on that. But you can also find us on social media, of course. We're on Twitter at the DualSense Pod. That's our primary social media feed. But we also have an Instagram where we post virtual photography from in-game photo modes. We have a Facebook page and a blog, which is called the DualSensePodcast.wordpress.com. You can go there to get the episodes each week. You can also see our pictures there, our bios, etc. So please find us and chat PlayStation with us. We would love to hear from you. And we're not wasting any time this week. We're not messing around because this is a pretty interesting news week and we have a lot to cover. So let's jump right in here, Travis, starting with number one. Head of PlayStation Studios Herman Hulst gave a round of interviews to various media outlets this week in which he outlined PlayStation's strategy for the future. And there were several interesting takeaways from his remarks. For starters, Hulst expounded upon what we can expect from Sony's rapidly increasing PC release schedule and how that relates to new releases on PS5, telling French YouTuber Julien Chiese, I have no idea, it sounds Italian in French to me. He told him, quote, I think going forward we'll see at least a year between releases on PlayStation and on the PC platform, possibly with the exception of live service games, end quote. Hulst all but confirmed that their live service games will release simultaneously on PC and PlayStation, adding, quote, live service games are a little bit different in nature because you want to have a strong community, strong engagement right away, right when you go live. So we might, in the case of our live service offerings, go day and date with PC and the PlayStation platform, end quote. Elsewhere, in an interview with Axios, Hulst reiterated that while PlayStation is pushing hard and fast into the PC and mobile gaming spaces, they're not the only ones, am I right? They understand their bread is buttered by narrative driven blockbuster single player games, and that won't change moving forward. He said, quote, some of our biggest titles in the single player narrative driven space are also our most profitable titles, end quote. Holst said releasing titles on PC will remain an avenue that allows PlayStation to continue making large investments in their projects. On the mobile side of things, we can expect that initiative to begin growing rapidly as well, similar to how things have gone on PC. Holst said he wants to build up PlayStation's quote unquote internal capability to build mobile games and said that the recently purchased Savage Game Studios is the company's first, but not last, mobile developer acquisition. In terms of live service games, Holst said that some titles will be based off existing PlayStation IP, while others will be something new. And finally, in a move that will draw the ire of many and the praise of others, PlayStation will continue bringing select games to PlayStation 4 beyond 2022, according to Holst, who told Axios, quote, we certainly don't want to forget the millions of active players on PS4, and we want to ensure there are great games for them as well. We're evaluating it on a case-by-case basis, end quote. All right, so what do you think of all this PlayStation news via Herman Holst? Does anything stand out to you?
Yeah, I mean, let's take the obvious thing. We don't need any more PS4 games, but that's fine. I can live with that, I guess. Been
Ugh.
harping on that for like 10 years. But other than that, let's just gloss over that. I think we could pat ourselves on the back a little bit here. We've been saying for a while that at least with these narrative-based games, it'll probably be a year or so before they pop up on PC. He's confirmed that.
Hmm.
We've talked forever about how their biggest revenue driver, what makes PlayStation PlayStation, is their single player narrative games. He said the same thing. So that's all things that we've been talking about that for a while. And he says,
Hmm.
that we're working on our internal capability to build mobile games, which kind of goes back to what we said about making these organic games is what PlayStation is good at. So again, they're kind of tapping back into what they're good for. And he references Savage Games, which we talked about last week or the week before, whenever it was that one, it wouldn't be the first, but obviously, um, they want them to do stuff, not on a port level, but on a, maybe an original level. So I think we covered all those bases before. So basically, we could run PlayStation if they need us. We're here. But the live service comment I thought was interesting because he says basically those games will release simultaneously. And I understand his point, which is that you want a large community from the jump, but I think there's been plenty of live service games that have shown that you don't need that, from the jump. No
Hmm.
Man's Sky, is that not a live service has done well, and it was shitty at the beginning? That's an easy example, but there's others. I don't think there was, like, an arena shooter that got really popular, but had been out for a while before it kinda
Hmm.
took off. I can't remember what it was. I wanna say it was Apex, but that might not be right. There was one that was, I remember seeing that it had been out for a while, and I was like, "Oh, never even heard of it until it got really popular." So,
Hmm.
there are examples that's not I don't know. I don't think we have to act like that's a necessity, but I understand the point. If you're in a position like PlayStation is, you wanna know as quick as possible if a game is profitable, if it's worth investing in, and a live service, the way that those operate, it makes sense to put them out on PC and PlayStation at the same time, but I don't think it's an end all be all per se. I think it would be okay if they didn't do that, but I get it. So, it's interesting to see his comments and that he's kind of, in a sense, he's parroting things that the community's been saying for a while. So, I guess on one hand, it kind of makes you feel like at least PlayStation's going in a decent direction, and at least we finally kind of know what they're looking at, which is more than we get from them a lot. But just the elephant in the room about the weirdest thing is that he told a random French YouTuber, like, why would he not just put a post on the blog or something? Like, that's kinda weird.
Yeah, it is weird how PlayStation does that. Like they talk to these random outlets. They talk to these random people. Like I've never heard of this person, so maybe he is just like really tuned into the French gaming scene. I don't know. I've never heard of him, but it's like Jim Ryan giving interviews to GQ. Like who are they? Who are they marketing to? Like you know what I'm saying? Like I've never read GQ in my life, and I'm their core audience. So I do agree it's weird who they give interviews to, but I think there's a lot of interesting things that Hulst said across his various kind of like press tour interviews, whatever. And first of all, let me say that it's time to leave PlayStation 4 behind. I don't know what we're doing. I don't know why they continue to do this. Like, we need to let it die. We need to let it end. We need to force these teams and allow these teams to be able to just make PlayStation 5 games. It's about to be, I mean, we're getting ready to be in year 3 of the system. Like, it's time. But I digress. Like I said, I know some people will be really pleased with that because they either haven't got a PS5 yet or haven't been able to, which I don't really know how that's possible. If you really wanted one, you should have been able to get one at this point. But anyway, I'm glad to hear that they're going to still maintain their focus on single player narrative driven games. They're going to keep giving those to us. And I think that obviously that's, like I mentioned here, where their bread is buttered. They would be stupid to not do that. And that's really what is a differentiating factor for PlayStation, like we've talked about on the show. I mean, look at how many games Xbox put out this week. I mean, this year, I should say, none basically. So, and from PlayStation, we've gotten The Last of Us, God of War, Gran Turismo, and I feel like there's another one that I'm missing. There's been at least 4 big games this year. Not to mention MLB The Show, but that's not a single player game. But we're getting we get those games from PlayStation. That's one of the things that they're known for, one of their hallmarks. So they have to keep doing that. They have to keep feeding that. And I think that brings people in for these multiplayer live service experiences that they're obviously doubling and tripling down on. And a lot of people are not a lot, I should say, but I feel like a lot of, I won't, I said a lot of again, I feel like many people online are turned off or sort of discouraged about all of the live service games, the push towards that.
Mhm.
I'm actually excited about it because, like we've talked about before, I think PlayStation is one of those companies that could make a really good live service game. And we've also talked about how they're just kind of throwing spaghetti at the refrigerator and seeing which one sticks, and
Mhm.
darts at the wall, because not all of these are going to be successful, but it only takes one, right? It only takes one to really hit to be huge to buoy all the rest. And it's something that we haven't seen from PlayStation per se, them just go full on like, hey, this is a multiplayer live service game. And so to me, that's exciting if they can find a way to translate the single player blockbuster type game somehow to a multiplayer experience, which I think maybe off the jump, the closest we're going to get is the Last of Us multiplayer game. Very excited about that. So I'm not turned off by it. I think it's encouraging. I get why they're doing it. That's just the world we live in now. And the one thing that I'm not so sure about is I don't really understand what they're doing with the mobile side of things. I say that kind of out of both, talking out of both sides of my mouth. I understand the mobile games market is huge, in terms of dollars of revenue and everything. I get all that, but I just don't know. I don't know who they're trying to market to. Like if they're going to make a mobile game about, Horizon, I just don't want them to bastardize these franchises is what I'm really trying to say, I think. I don't want them to, take something that we all love and know and just turn it into this like shitty like three pick their match three game or fucking like a temple run with God, with Kratos or something like that. Like don't do that. Don't do that type of stuff to our beloved franchises because that would be terrible. So yeah, I think a lot of this is Herman Hulst kind of setting the table. Like he's not talking in some of these instances in definites. I don't know if you noticed that, but he says things like, in some cases
Mhm.
we might bring our live service offerings day and date to PC. So what he's saying, translation is, we're putting our live service games day one on PC and PlayStation. Like he doesn't say it definitively because it's almost like he's trying to like soften it in case it makes anybody mad. So
Mhm.
I picked up on that across his various interviews as well. But a lot of interesting things and an interesting look at how PlayStation is going to be operating going forward. And I think that this is the blueprint. Number two, PlayStation suffered a substantial leak this week, Travis, with several upcoming games being revealed, as reported by various sources. For starters, website Multiplayer First reported and Video Games Chronicle corroborated that a remastered version of 2017's Horizon Zero Dawn is on the way to PlayStation 5. It is said to feature improved visuals, lighting and animations, character models, and accessibility features. This news immediately sparked outrage at the thought of another $70 remake for a game available on PS4, like the recent remake of The Last of Us. Multiplayer First also reported that Horizon developer Guerrilla Games is working on a multiplayer Horizon project for PS5 and PC, which VGC also corroborated. Elsewhere, an alleged quote unquote PlayStation document began making the rounds on the interweb this week, which has not been completely verified, but does appear to be real according to various outlets and is dated from 2021. The document includes the aforementioned Horizon Zero Dawn remaster and multiplayer games, as well as several other titles that we can infer what they are. It included Fire Sprite, the team that's making Horizon Call of the Mountain. It showed that they are working on a survival horror game codenamed Heartbreak for both PS5 and PC. Sackboy, a big adventure developer at Sumo Digital, was also on the list. And it said that they were making an open world multiplayer game codenamed Carbon for PS5. Destruction All Stars developer Lucid Games is or was working on a multiplayer vehicle combat game codenamed Red Star, which is understood to be a Twisted Metal reboot that has since been moved to another developer, as we've talked about on the show before. Kojima Productions was on the list, and it says that they're making an open world game for PS5 codenamed Ocean, which is likely Death Stranding 2. Ballistic Moon is a developer that we've talked about recently becoming a second party studio for PlayStation. The document said that they're working on a survival horror title for PS5 and PC codenamed Bates, which has been reported a couple of weeks back. And then finally, Sony London Studio is working on a live service title for PS5 and PC codenamed Camden, which I wonder if it's a new PlayStation Home. But what do you think about the leaks and any of these alleged games jump out to you?
But yeah, a lot of people were upset about Horizon Zero Dawn being a remake similar to The Last of Us, and it's a fair argument about the $70 mark
Yeah.
for a game that's on PS4, but I can't speak to The Last of Us. You obviously played it, the remake, and
Yeah.
you loved it, so there's obviously a market there. You can't it's hard to be it's easy to be annoyed that they keep making these remakes that are $70, but you can't argue with the model
Mm.
when they sell and they do well. So, what do you expect,
Hmm.
kind of? As far as this PlayStation document goes, we've heard about most of these. The Sackboy thing we knew about, of course, Twisted Metal being a reboot, another developer, we knew about that. So I think we know those are real. Death Stranding 2, I think we know is real already. I can't believe that this open world game called Ocean would be anything else.
Right.
The Sackboy thing, I feel like we've talked about that before. What I think is interesting are the last two. So
Mm.
Ballistic Moon, which is a new name that's popped up recently, has a horror game called Bates. And why I think it's interesting is I wonder if it's called that as like an ode to Norman Bates. That makes sense. You see
Hmm.
that a lot. Or if it's actually like kind of it would be interesting to play a game that's kind of based around that in a way, like either you're trying to not be killed by him or you are him and you're playing
Yeah.
a serial killer management sim. I don't know what you'd call it, but it would
Yeah.
be interesting.
Mm. Yeah.
And then the London studio thing. You said it could be a new PlayStation Home. I don't
Hmm.
really have a good idea of what it could be, but that does make sense. So I think that's interesting. But if it's a live service for 5 and PC, then how does that work as a PlayStation Home? Is it similar to like a Game Pass
Mm.
hub? Like what does that look like? So
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, that's a good point.
none of this is super everything that we saw on what did you call it earlier? This PlayStation document, none of that is super,
Yeah.
super surprising. The last 2 I found the most interesting. But yeah, I think with these remakes that are $70, I don't know that PlayStation has to make a statement about it. Like, that might be a little ridiculous, but it's
Hmm.
worth noting on their end that it's definitely creating some sort of division between the fan base and the expectation base. I hope they have some sort of analytics to confirm who's really complaining. Is it just a bunch of loud people, or is it a bunch of Xbox heads? What is it? You know what I mean? Because if people who are playing your games aren't complaining, then it really doesn't matter what anybody else is saying. So I would like to kind of what do those stats look like is kind of what I'd be curious about. Or is it people who haven't bought a PS5 yet and they're mad because it's a game they can't play? So
You're
there's a
talking
lot
about
of
in reference to the Horizon thing?
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
There's a lot of different avenues that could go into where the noise that we hear isn't really relevant. So I would like to understand that a little bit more.
I'm of the mind that the Horizon thing is more of like a director's cut style thing, like Ghost of Tsushima got, like Death Stranding got. Like
Mhm.
it's an upgrade for PS5, but it's more of like a $10-$20 upgrade. I don't remember how much the upgrades cost for Tsushima and Death Stranding, but I think it's more along the lines of that. I can't imagine that they would try to remake a game from 2017. So, and I think people totally forgot that that was a thing, that we did that with, Uncharted 4 and Ghost of Tsushima and Death Stranding. Like, we didn't do a remake, we just did like an upgrade. I think people forgot that that was a thing. So
Mhm.
I feel like some of the outrage is not warranted, especially since we don't know now. If they come out and they're like, "Hey, we've remade completely, built from the ground up on PS5, and it's $70," then this time around I might be kind of like, you know, I might be with people on that one because Horizon Zero Dawn already got a 60 FPS update for PS5 and backwards compatibility, but that's obviously not everything. That didn't do textures and
Mhm.
character models and all that type of thing, and dual sense support. So that's not there. So they could definitely do like an upgrade, not a remake, I would say. And I think people just need to chill out a little bit. Some of this other stuff, though, I think is very interesting. Some of it we've heard about before. We've heard that Fire Sprite is making a survival horror game. I don't know if we heard the code name Heartbreak, but Fire Sprite, before they were working on Call of the Mountain, did a survival horror game. I cannot remember what it's called, but it's on PS4 and it got a PS5 upgrade. So that's kind of a little bit of their roots. I'm really interested in the game. Well, two games really. One is, what is this open world multiplayer game from Sumo Digital called Carbon? Is it an
Mhm,
open world Sackboy game, or is it something totally different? I hope that it's something totally different and not an open world Sackboy game, because I would really like to see what they could do with that, because they're also the studio that did that Hood Outlaws and Legends game that we kind of liked slightly, but that wasn't fantastic. You remember that from last year, so
mhm.
I think they maybe have some DNA there for something that could be good for that. And then I'm also wondering what London Studio is working on. I think you make a good point about that being PC and how that, I don't know how that fits with PlayStation Home. There's been rumors that London Studio is making a new PlayStation Home though for PS5 and PSVR 2. So I'm not sure how they would do that. So that's a good point about it being listed for PC. So maybe it is something else. I don't know. But I think London Studio made what's that game that's kind of like GTA? Is it called The Getaway?
That
Was it
sounds like a thing.
on PS2? So I mean, maybe they're doing something like that, like an open world, some type of action GTA live service, like a GTA Online kind of clone thing. I don't know. All very exciting though, but it's weird that nobody's been able to necessarily verify this, but also not to say no, this is fake. Like even Tom Henderson was like, I can't prove that this is fake or real, but I've received this as well. So it seems like there's some smoke here to say that these are real and that there's some accuracy to this. So we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully, not much longer. I mean, PlayStation has to say something at some point. I feel like we're going to get at least a state of play this year. Hopefully, a showcase. If we get past November the 9th, which is when God of War Ragnarok launches, and we have not had a state of play or a showcase, I think that's a cause for concern. I think that's a mistake by Sony. Part of me also thinks that maybe we're just going to hear about PSVR 2 between now and the end of the year and nothing else, because we know that's coming in early next year. So they
Mhm.
might just make a big push for that and all the games coming out for that, and then do something for the rest of the year in the spring, rest of next year in the spring, which would be crazy because conceivably we could go all the way until maybe March or April or May before we ever see Spider-Man 2, which is presumably launching next summer or fall. So that would be kind of nuts. But the anticipation would be insane for that. So we'll see. Number 3, Cyberpunk 2077 and the Witcher series developer CD Projekt announced a plethora of new games this week during a presentation for investors. 3 new Witcher games, a Cyberpunk sequel, and a brand new IP were all revealed alongside major structural changes for the company. First up is Project Sirius, Sirius, the first of the new Witcher titles, which is being developed at Boston-based studio The Molasses Flood, which was acquired by CD Projekt in October of last year, and is the team behind The Flame in the Flood. Sirius will feature both single-player and multiplayer gameplay of some sort. The second Witcher project is codenamed Polaris and will be the first of 3 games in the previously announced new Witcher saga. CD Projekt said they plan to release all 3 games in the saga within a 6-year period, beginning with the launch of the aforementioned Polaris, which they said would launch no earlier than 2025. The final Witcher game announced was codenamed Canis Majoris, a title which was described as a quote unquote Witcher themed game being developed on Unreal Engine 5 by an unannounced third party studio, which itself is comprised of former Witcher series staff members, so we could probably figure out who that is. Beyond the Witcher franchise, CD Projekt is also developing a sequel to Cyberpunk 2077. Codenamed Orion, this new game will be led by a newly established internal studio called CD Projekt Red at North America, which has offices in both Boston and Vancouver. To support development on the sequel, most of Cyberpunk 2077's core development team are being relocated to lead development on Orion. They're being moved to Boston, and they'll help establish the new North American studio. In addition to all of this, CD Projekt is also creating their own original IP for the first time in the company's history. The project is codenamed Hadar and is still in the conceptual phase of development. And finally, the company's co founder and joint CEO, Marcin Avinsky, announced that he is stepping down from his current role so that he may submit his candidacy to become chairman of CD Projekt's supervisory board.
Mm,
Okay, so they announced basically everything that they're working on for the next
mhm.
decade or more.
That's right.
So what do you think of any of this? Anything jump out?
Well, we already have our new chairman of the board. That's easy.
Right, right.
Yeah, so all of these 3 Witcher games are going to be full-scale Witcher games, just like the Witcher last Witcher game, correct?
That's my understanding.
Yeah, this
They're
is
all
weird.
RPGs.
Yeah, so you're gonna put out one every 2 years theoretically, starting in 2025. That's wild to me. So we could assume one of those won't come out until 2033,
Hmm.
just because why not, right?
Hmm.
The molasses flood is an interesting story to look up if you're bored later. But anyway,
Yeah, I came across that looking stuff up for this.
the Witcher stuff is interesting. I like that they're gonna put out 3. It just seems like a weird thing to announce all 3.
Hmm.
I the last one's Witcher themed, so who really knows what that is? But that is interesting in of itself.
I agree.
What I think is funny is, like, CD Projekt Red puts out Cyberpunk. It's terrible. They make so much money off of it that they can basically fund the next decade of games, and they've created a North American internal studio out of all of this, and then the core
Hmm.
development team from the game, which sucked, is now in, like, senior level positions, so, that makes me of course, the game's in a much better position now, it actually functions and people enjoy it, so that's beside the
Hmm.
point of what I was making, but, the fact that it works now and that these people they've kind of promoted in a sense tells me that all of the issues that Cyberpunk had were not necessarily on them. It makes me feel like it was upper management who maybe didn't have realistic expectations or was pushing too hard, or people who didn't really understand what was happening is kind of what it feels like. Or we're maybe letting outside influences kind of drive things. So that's interesting there. What does a sequel look like though for this?
You mean
I
The
don't
Witcher?
yeah, no, sorry for Cyberpunk. Like I'm having a hard
Oh,
time
oh.
imagining Cyberpunk always felt like a one-off to me.
Hmm.
And maybe with the anime show or whatever, I should have realized they would be making another one, but
Sure.
I'm having a hard time imagining what this actually looks like. But that's their problem, not mine. But and I feel like this is odd. Like, have we really seen a studio kind of lay things out in this sense like this before? Like, it just seems like everything's there and it's weird.
I feel like this is a new phenomenon because most recently Ubisoft did this, like we talked about a couple of weeks back with the Assassin's Creed showcase, where they
Mhm.
laid out like the next 10 years basically of Assassin's Creed, and then now these guys are doing it. So I thought the same thing. I feel like this is like some type of new like odd phenomenon that's happening in the gaming industry. I don't know that I like it. Part of me part of me does, part of me doesn't. Like it's cool knowing what they're working on, but I think that this also I think that maybe they're doing it, I'm sure for investors and things like that, but I think they're also doing it to maybe take the pressure off them some in a way because they won't constantly be getting just bothered by fans about like, what are you doing? Where's this at? When's this coming? This was supposed to be here, yada yada yada. Like they've laid out the roadmap, but at the same time, now you've said that you're going to release 3 Witcher games in a 6-year period. So whenever that first one comes out, whether it's 2025 or 2026, you've started your clock. And a lot can happen between now and then.
Right.
And I don't care if you're making them all on Unreal Engine 5 or not, and how easy that makes things. I don't care. You've set a bar. And I
Mhm.
think that that's not something that you want to do in the video game development world because we see games get delayed left and right now. And then, I mean, hell, games get delayed at the last minute for certification issues or,
Mhm.
localization issues with translations and whatever. So, like, anything can go wrong.
Yeah, we may never see one of these games.
You never know. You never know. Also, what does the industry look like in 10 years? This is the problem with announcing things so far in advance because right now the big kick is all on live service games. You know what I'm saying? They didn't announce any live service games. So are they
Mhm.
going to be back where the trends are by the time they release the last Witcher game? Does it matter? I don't know. I mean, I know you obviously have to plan. You have to have a vision. You have to have long-term planning. I understand all that. I just don't know about sharing it publicly. Because then now if you change something, I don't know that you solve any of your problems with public relations and public perception. So I don't know. It's a bold strategy, and all the big publishers are doing it now.
Mhm.
Hell, even Bethesda said that after they make whatever game that's coming out allegedly next year, Starfield,
Yeah.
they've said, oh yeah, after Starfield we're doing Elder Scrolls 7
Uh-huh.
or whatever. And then after Elder Scrolls we're going to go back to Fallout. When in like 15 years? Like, who gives a shit about Fallout in 15 years? Like, I just don't. I don't know. It's bold, but going back to just strictly the games and themselves, it all sounds very cool to me. I love The Witcher. You know that I played it for like 200 or 300 hours, The Witcher 3. So it's right up. All this is right up my alley. I enjoyed Cyberpunk after they released the PS5
Right.
version this year. I think it's a good game now. So we've got the DLC coming. So they're certainly striking while the iron is hot. And I am the person that all this is for, and it's very exciting. The two things I find most interesting is that they're stepping outside of what sounds like the open world RPG style of game with the one project from the Molasses Flood people. It sounds like it's going to be different, like not an open world RPG. It's going
Right.
to have single player and multiplayer. The other one, which is the Canis Majoris, which is being made by a third party, they described it as a Witcher themed. So they didn't say it was a full blown Witcher game. They said it
Right.
was Witcher themed. So
Which
I'm
could be
very
cool.
it could. So it sounds like they're trying to
Mm.
to make some different Witcher experiences and some different things with their franchises. And I don't think I included it in the write up, but I think they actually said as much that they're trying to partner with external teams to do different things with the IP that they control. So you never know. Maybe we'll get like a platform brawler Witcher game or something crazy like that. So down the
Yeah.
road, but
Maybe they're just
um,
putting all this out so they can take in investments and then steal and embezzle the money.
yeah, or maybe Tencent can come in and buy them.
Oh God.
Number four, Sony has big plans for the PlayStation VR 2, according to Bloomberg, who reports that the Japanese electronics maker is planning to produce 2 million of the next gen VR headset by March. This is quite a step up from the original PlayStation VR, which took 7 months following its release in October of 2016 to sell 1 million units. According to Bloomberg sources, PSVR 2 entered mass production in September and has not yet been affected by supply chain issues. PlayStation also revealed earlier this year that it will have more than 20 games ready for the launch of PSVR 2. So, what do you think about basically PlayStation literally doubling down on PSVR 2, and they're expecting to sell what sounds like 2 million like soon off the bat?
So the main difference between PSVR 2 and the first one for me is like if you look at kind of where the hype was for them, expecting 2 million units this or that quickly, I think makes a lot more sense for the two. Because when the first one came out, like we were all excited about it, but it was like excited like when you see a concept car, you're like, oh, that's really cool. Fuck if I knows if it'll work. Like I don't want to invest anything in it to see if it works right. Like let's just kind of let it do its thing and we'll see where it lands. This
Hmm.
one, the hype on the PSVR 2 is like this thing works and it's going to be awesome. And that usually translates pretty well. Like it feels like when a new console comes out, like there's not any doubt about it, right? It's like this is the next evolution. This is what we're getting. This is what we're doing. That I think bodes well for the 2 million for selling 2 million units. The other thing is they actually have 20 games ready. I don't feel like we had that with the first one either. So you were buying this new technology that was unproven. You didn't have a lot of games for it. The second iteration of it seems to have addressed all of those issues. So it makes sense to me. I guess it makes sense that it entered mass production in September, but I was
Hmm.
kind of surprised in a sense. Like I just felt like that would have been I guess in the world my head lives in, I feel like that would have been bigger news.
Hmm.
But no, I think it'll be hard to get them honestly. Like I think for a lot of people it will be hard because where do these 2 million
Yeah.
go? Like how many go to which market? How many are in Europe? How many are in the States? Like who knows? It
Yeah.
might be really difficult to get one.
Yeah. I know. I think you're right. 2 million, 2 million sounds like a lot. 2 million is not a lot when you consider that we're talking about the entire world, like you said. So, got to think a majority of those are going to go to the US, the second majority probably to Europe, like the UK, Western Europe sort of thing. I think it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be tough to get one. I think it's going to be expensive. I also think that the fact that it's entered mass production is a good sign that maybe Sony will feel comfortable now saying more about it soon in
Mhm.
terms of giving us a price, giving us a release date. I I have a feeling that we might find out that information close to the launch of God of War, like maybe right before, because I just have this feeling in my plums that the price is really not going to be appealing to a lot of people. I think that's going to be like some negative news, and I think they're going to bury that by God of War
Mhm.
Ragnarok coming out shortly thereafter
Right.
and getting reviewed pretty well.
It also makes sense too because it seems like PlayStation always has one big thing to buoy off of. So God of War, PSVR 2, like it makes sense that those line up to me.
Yeah, I agree, and so I'm excited about it. I want one. Like I've decided that I'm going to get one because of what we've seen recently from some of the games that are starting to trickle out and be announced, and very excited about it, and looking forward to getting it. It's they're obviously expecting it to do well, to make a jump based on just the 2 million versus 1 million from the original alone. I wonder, what I'm curious to see is by the end of 2023 calendar year, how many will have sold? 4 million, 5 million, because I think there's only like 5 million PSVR originals like total in the market. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think it's very many, or not, at least not as many as you would think. But I feel like it's around 5 million or so. So it seems like they're obviously expecting this to do much better than the original, and they're supporting it. It seems much more robustly as well. So that's a good sign too. Number five, Microsoft and Sony continue their back and forth battle, both publicly and behind the scenes, to push their agenda regarding Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard. This time, website Deal Reporter claims that Sony Interactive Entertainment president and CEO Jim Ryan flew to the European Union headquarters in Brussels on September the 8th to meet with regulators regarding the proposed deal. Elsewhere, Microsoft has launched a new website campaigning on behalf of their Activision Blizzard acquisition. On the new site, Microsoft claims that the deal will lead to, quote, greater competition in traditional gaming, where Sony and Nintendo will remain the biggest, end quote. Later in the week, Brazil became the first nation to officially approve the deal, with their regulatory body saying that Sony will be just fine if the deal goes through, and even if they lose access to Activision Blizzard content, citing Nintendo as an example of a video game platform holder that has been successful without any such content from Activision in recent years, as well as PlayStation's already strong position in the gaming market. In their summary, the Brazilian regulator said, quote, in turn, Sony has several predicates: strength of the world's leading brand for more than 20 years, extensive experience in the sector, largest user base, largest installed base of consoles, robust catalog of exclusive games, partnerships with multiple third-party publishers, brand loyal customers, etc., which should contribute to maintaining the competitiveness of PlayStation in a possible post-transaction scenario, even in the face of the possible loss of access to Activision Blizzard content. End quote. Elsewhere, the U.S. Federal Trade Commission is set to make their ruling by late November, according to Deal Reporter, while British regulators won't be ready to make a decision until March of next year. So, what do you think about the Brazilian version of the FTC basically telling Sony to fuck off? You'll be fine.
This story is interest seems like it gets more and more interesting. Like there's so many
I agree.
layers to this onion.
I agree.
Okay, so the first thing to me that is really interesting is Microsoft and Sony seem to be really focused in on the EU ruling and not anywhere else. Like they're not talking to the American Trade
Yeah.
Commission at all. They're over here in EU. They're fucking around. Jim Ryan's flying to Brussels in September. Like, does he not have something better to do? I mean,
Right.
and I understand, but all of the viewpoints here. Like, you can get on either side of it, but at the bottom line is it comes down basically to money, and it's hard to compare Nintendo to any other. It's really hard for me to compare Nintendo to Microsoft or Sony because, like, to me, if you're looking at like tiers of gaming companies, Sony and Microsoft are one. Nintendo is below them. It doesn't matter. You could call them 1B or 2. They're not on the same level. It's just a different type of thing. Like the Switch is different than these consoles. So like you can't I don't know that Call of Duty works on that anyway. So it doesn't matter. Like it's weird to me.
Hmm.
Now Brazil is technically right. Yeah, like Sony will be fine without Activision Blizzard. Like they'd be fine. But it's also like you're ESPN, but you can never show a Lakers game. Like you'll be fine, but it's weird.
Yeah.
Like why is that a thing?
Yeah.
Some of the stuff that
It's a
Brazil
good comparison.
that Brazil has said, I wonder how much of this is real. Like, do they have? I mean, we know they have the most robust catalog of exclusives, but is, do they have the largest base of consoles? Do they have the largest user base? I mean, we know we've sold the most units PlayStation has, but, like, you could sell 1,000,000 units, but if you have 100 active users, like, what does it matter really? You know what I mean? So, I think that there's I don't know how many of these stats are real that they're kinda spouting off is one thing I've wondered about as you were reading through this, but I don't know, this is so fucking
Mhm.
weird to me, like, I don't know, I just feel like the bottom line is it's weird to not have Activision Blizzard games on PlayStation. Clearly,
Yeah.
Microsoft wants to eliminate that. They want to have it as their own entity where they have complete control over it, which they will, no matter what these people end up ruling. You know what I mean? Like if the
Mhm.
US FTC says it's fine, Brazil says it's fine, and the EU doesn't, well, guess what? You still can't play it in America on PlayStation. So it's
Yeah.
gonna get blocked somewhere. I just feel like eventually, and we've talked about this before, but Call of Duty's leaving PlayStation at some point. Like it's inevitable.
Yeah.
And this is all this is about is money really and kind of like swinging your dick around to see how big it is what I feel like.
So you feel that it will be blocked at least somewhere in the world.
Maybe. I don't know. I just
Yeah.
because Brazil was basically like, fuck this, stop bothering me. Which is fair.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I feel like
They make great points, by the
yeah,
way.
and I feel like the US Trade Commission is gonna be similar. They're gonna be like, look, we're in listen, we're not communists, right? Like this is a capitalist marketplace. They own the rights. They can do whatever they want. If they decide to not offer you a contract, that's on them. It does
Mhm.
not create a monopoly because you have the ability to create your own game. And while it would be difficult, yeah, sure to be difficult to match Call of Duty's success and what it brings to the table, obviously, like that's anybody would have it's like one of the best-selling games of all time. Every single year, it's at the very top of the list. The best-selling franchises of all time is what I mean. Like, yeah, you're not gonna be able to replicate that. It's gonna be difficult. But that's kind of how capitalism works. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't
Mhm.
replicate Coke, you make Pepsi. It's the same thing. Like, you're not gonna make Call of Duty,
Yeah,
but you can make
fair.
another FPS. So
Yeah,
I feel
fair.
like that's what we will rule. Now, why is the EU being such a big focus? I think it's because Sony
Yeah.
thinks that's the one place they might be able to win, and they might think it's a 5% chance of winning, but it's enough for them to at least push the envelope and maybe who knows? Maybe if they
Mhm.
delay it enough and it keeps getting pushed back, they'll at least be able to extend a contract in that market, maybe where they can't in other places. So, like, I don't know, there's a reason they're pushing in EU and not anywhere else, I think.
Yeah, no, you're right. That is very interesting to me as well, and I actually think that the place where they're maybe most likely to have a chance is in Britain
Mhm.
because Sony has their European headquarters in England. And as far as I know, Microsoft does not have any type of headquarters there. So I feel like, and we've known based on their comments, like the British regulators have said, they've mentioned Sony and PlayStation by name. Like, how does this affect them or something like that? So
Mhm.
I feel like that might be the place where they have the best chance. It is weird that Jim Ryan is going and speaking to the European Union about this. It's weird how public all of this has been. I don't know if this is PlayStation probably wanted it this way because they want attention on it because it benefits them. I don't know about Microsoft. I would guess that they wanted this to go a lot more quietly. I think that at the end of the day, the Brazilian board made very fair points in the quote that I just read. All of that is fair. It's hard to argue against a lot of that stuff, and um, even when PlayStation loses Call of Duty, which I am of the mind that they will, like you, eventually. I don't think that it'll be there forever. I think by PlayStation 6, again, like I've said, I don't think on PlayStation 6 we'll have Call of Duty on PlayStation. So I think that's something that Sony should have already been preparing for. Maybe they have. Maybe they have an FPS in one of these live service games. It would seem silly not to have a live service FPS game. So I'm hoping that they have been preparing for an eventuality like this because all bets are off. Microsoft can buy anybody. They're big enough. I mean, they could turn around and buy, Capcom, and they could buy Square Enix from out from underneath PlayStation if they wanted to. So they have to be preparing for things like that. Number six, Sony revealed the most downloaded games on the PlayStation Store for the month of September this week. Over on PlayStation 5, the most downloaded game was NBA 2K23, followed by FIFA 23, The Last of Us Part 1, Madden NFL 23, Cyberpunk 2077, GTA 5, Disney Dreamlight Valley, Saints Row, Rainbow Six Siege, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All Star Battle R, Cult of the Lamb, Gran Turismo 7, Valkyrie Elysium, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Spider Man Miles Morales, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Collection, Steel Rising, Elden Ring, Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed, and Assassin's Creed Valhalla at number 20. On PS4, the most downloaded game was also NBA 2K23 and was also followed by FIFA 23, Madden NFL 23, GTA 5, Minecraft, Red Dead Redemption 2, Cyberpunk 2077, Dead Island Definitive Edition. Some people getting interested there. UFC 4, The Forest, of course, The Last of Us Part 2, Dragon Ball Fighters, Ghost Recon Breakpoint, Saints Row, Batman Arkham Knight, God of War, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge, Rainbow Six Siege, The Witcher 3 at number 20. PSVR was essentially unchanged as it has been, as it goes stagnant ahead of the PSVR 2 launch. But in free to play, the number one most downloaded game was Fortnite, followed by Fall Guys, Multiversus, Rumbleverse hanging in there, which really shocks me. Warzone at 5, Apex Legends, Fantasy Star Online 2, New Genesis, Rocket League, Destiny 2, and eFootball 2023 at number 10. So, anything jump out to you?
And free to play. Shout out to eFootball breaking in the top 10. I have no idea what piece of shit New Genesis is, but good for Rumbleverse and Multiverse. Like to see that. PS4, PS5. The top 5 of both of those are not surprising at all. Like nothing there is shocking. That's what you expect, especially this time of the year.
And especially from what should be a dying console, but go on.
Yes.
Nothing but sports games and GTA.
Yes. That's typically what happens with those. Dead Island is interesting popping back up there. I thought UFC 4 was interesting on the 4. Like, I don't know what's going on there. Because because the PS4 is dying, so you just get so much random shit on there. Like why is Dragon Ball Z's on there? Okay. Well, why is Arkham Knight back? I mean, I guess those are free, but anyway, interesting. Or whatever, PlayStation Plus game of the month or something like that. Destroy All Humans 2 on the 5. I thought that was interesting. And Steel Rising being on there, I thought that was interesting too. And who is playing JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? I don't know who's doing that, but it's basically in the top 10 now.
Yeah.
So go figure.
So for me, one of the things that I noted, I mentioned was Dead Island Definitive Edition being on the PS4 list. People got their interest peaked after Dead Island 2 got announced. So that's cool to see. The Forest hanging in there, as always, is outstanding. And big Dragon Ball Z fever, too. I think that probably follows off of like it being in Fortnite because people were downloading Kakarot and Fighters. So that's interesting to see. You can just see those trends. And over on PS5 and really PS4, the top five, none of those surprise me. You know, NBA, FIFA, Madden, The Last of Us actually being ahead of Madden, I think is pretty impressive, all things considered. Cyberpunk 2077 also having another big resurgence alongside its resurgence on Steam following the Netflix anime show. And then I think one that's going to stick around is that I keep saying is that Disney Dreamlight Valley game. That thing is going to be huge. Like you don't hear a lot about it right now, but it's going to be one of those games that just owns the world like Fortnite. Number 7, Travis, we also have a bunch of news nuggets here. Feel free to jump in here when you see fit. First nugget, God of War Ragnarok went gold this week ahead of its November 9th release. So no more delays. Sony's Santa Monica Studios Gold announcement also revealed that Demon Souls remake studio Bluepoint Games has been assisting on the project, which is the first time we've heard that. Bluepoint previously ported the original PS2 games to PS3 as the God of War collection back in the day, so there is a connection there. Meanwhile, insider Tom Henderson claims the game will take 40 hours to fully complete, 20 hours for the main story, and 20 hours for side quests. Ooh, it's a big one. While doing a media tour this week, head of PlayStation Studios Herman Hulst told Reuters that Sony's recent investment in Elden Ring developer From Software is about more than just games, saying, quote, "You should think of collaborations on the game development side first and foremost, but it's also not unthinkable with our PlayStation Productions efforts that we explore opportunities," end quote. So, we were curious about that when they bought that 14% stake or whatever, what that means, but sounds like they want to make, Elden Ring and Dark Souls TV shows or whatever the hell.
Lord of the Elden Rings.
That's it. Perfect. They need to call us. We got this under control. Next nugget, Hulst also told Japanese outlet Famitsu that several PlayStation studios are utilizing Guerrilla Games' Decima engine to develop their projects on. We know Death Stranding is already there, but others are apparently doing that as well, which, in my opinion, that's a good thing because Horizon Forbidden West on PS5 is maybe its best looking game. It's incredible. Reuters also reported that Chinese Communist Corporation Tencent is switching its acquisition strategy and will now aggressively seek, quote unquote, to own majority or controlling stakes in overseas game companies. This is not good. So just buckle up. Just buckle up. They're going to get more aggressive, they say. Wonderful. Also, website Video Games Chronicle reported that players can now link their PlayStation Network and Steam accounts to receive in game unlocks. This functionality was discovered in the Spider Man game files earlier this year, and it could indicate that other PSN integration, such as trophies, are on the way. So, like we talked about before, we're getting ready to have full PC PlayStation Network integration. I bet we've got a PlayStation launcher on the way for PC. So, they're going fast and hard. Also, the PlayStation 5 was jailbroken this week, according to modder Lance McDonald. Don't get too excited, however, as the vulnerability has already been patched and is not possible unless you are still on the PS5 firmware version 4.03 for some reason, which was from last year. Following the launch of the PlayStation Stars program this week in North America, data miners have discovered a hidden fifth tier of the rewards program on the PlayStation website called the Diamond tier, and it appears to be invite only. Very
Oh,
exclusive.
now I want that now. Thank you.
You better get to work. Only like 127 more rare trophies for you. Kojima Productions confirmed this week at PAX Australia that actress Elle Fanning was indeed the mysterious figure on the quote unquote "Who Am I" image that Hideo Kojima recently posted. It is unclear if he is teasing Death Stranding 2 or something else, however, and he's now begun with another tease. It says, "Where am I?" And it's another darkened out silhouette. So getting kind of tired of that, but I'm still a little bit salty that, you know, I was one of the first ones to figure out that it was Elle Fanning and that other asshole got credit for it on the internet. But whatever, it happens. Also, Electronic Arts officially announced the previously leaked Need for Speed Unbound this week. It will launch on December 2nd for PS5 and will feature open world racing gameplay at 4K and 60 frames per second, with both a single player offline story campaign and online racing modes. I think the online is open world as well. The full list of 143 cars that will be available at launch also was revealed later in the week. I'm actually kind of interested in this. Did you see this?
No, I just Need for Speed has been all over the board recently, so I always just
Yeah.
wait until it comes out before I do any kind of research.
Yeah. No, you're right. EA put Criterion back on it. They took Ghost Games off of it, so I think that's a good thing. It looks cool. It's a very striking art style. It's something that I've never seen before in a racing game. It kind of looks like Borderlands in a way, the characters and stuff, but then you have like real looking cars. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Mhm.
Also, developer Crystal Dynamics launched a new fan survey asking what they would like to see if the Legacy of Kain series were to make a comeback. The last game in the series was 2003's Legacy of Kain Defiance.
Their fans are still alive. It was 20 years ago.
Yeah, they're out there. They're not all still alive. A new PS5 version of RPG The Outer Worlds from Obsidian Entertainment has been rated in Taiwan. It is called the Outer Worlds Spacer's Choice Edition. It will likely include the base game and both DLC expansions for next gen systems. I might actually finally check it out. I've always been intrigued by that. I've just never pulled the trigger. Tattoo artist Catherine Alexander has won a lawsuit against 2K Sports for the use of her tattoo designs without her permission in the WWE 2K video games. That seems like
Oh
something
god.
stupid. Why would they even do that?
Yeah, it seems like they gotta get how many like, look at 2K, NBA 2K, like, all those random dudes that
Hmm.
have tattoos from random dudes. They
Yeah,
gotta get, good lord.
yeah, they're all going to get. We're going to get a huge update this week, and no players are going to have any tattoos. The first Dead Space gameplay trailer was released this week. If you're interested, no, thank you. Several key members of the Disco Elysium development team have been forced out of the company. Writer and designer Robert Kurvitz and Helen Hindenper And lead art and designer Alexander Rostov are all gone. This is that communist development team. So, also, the chairman of Elden Ring developer From Software's parent company, Kadokawa Corporation, has been arrested and charged for bribery surrounding the Tokyo Olympics. The fuck? It's so,
Really?
yeah. Yeah, they arrested him. He bribed
Oh,
somebody on the Olympic committee for some reason.
maybe they're maybe Microsoft should bribe the EU so they can only have Call of Duty there.
There you go. We need Phil Spencer to bribe him so he can get shit canned later. Also, Hitman 3's roguelike freelancer mode has been delayed to January 26th to be able to include all locations from the world of assassination at the update's launch. Freelancer mode will come as a free update to all owners of the game and will feature a roguelike style missions with strategic planning and a customizable safe house between missions. Very intrigued by this. Developer Bloober Team announced that its recent horror game, The Medium, is getting a television adaptation. It seems totally unnecessary. Mortal Kombat developer NetherRealm Studios said they will announce a new game in due time, but first they will focus on celebrating the 30th anniversary of the Mortal Kombat franchise. Publisher Ubisoft announced the creation of a global creative office, which will restructure the way the company manages its studios to better support its various teams. They also announced that the company's chief creative officer, Igor Mansau, has left for quote unquote personal reasons. So he got fired. Also, the Five Nights at Freddy's movie has gotten a new director for the third time now and is planning to enter production in 2023, according to Blumhouse Productions. A Game of the Year edition for Far Cry 6 released this week for $120.
God,
It includes access to an upcoming expansion called Lost Between Worlds, as well as all other Season Pass content in Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon Classic Edition. And I'm not quite sure anybody named it their Game of the Year, but okay.
nope.
Overwatch 2 launched this week and suffered two different DDoS attacks that took the game's servers down. Blizzard has since apologized for the rocky launch and removed the requirement of a phone number tied to players' Battle.net accounts in order to access the game. Call of Duty developer Sledgehammer Games is rumored to be working on a sequel to Advanced Warfare, according to leaker Ralph's Valve. It's a leaky Valve. He says it is planned for 2025. However, the rumor has been called into question by more direct Call of Duty insiders who have not been able to confirm the claim with their own sources. So we'll see. A new PS5 firmware update dropped this week that improves system performance. Website Insider Gaming reported that the Division Heartland Travis has moved to closed beta, a good sign that the game's release is right around the corner, likely in early 2023. And I'm hoping to get included on one of these closed beta tests. I signed up for it.
But yeah, but it's still so quiet.
It is. It
It's
is.
just odd. Like, did they give up on it? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, 9 Titanfall 2 maps are being added to Apex Legends and are rumored to be part of the Capture Point LTM, whatever that is.
Hmm.
Premium DLC is planned for year 2 of post-launch support on Modern Warfare 2. It's expected that remastered classic maps are the foundation of the second year of support for the title. Sounds pretty dope. Developer Toys for Bob has teased that a new Crash Bandicoot game will be revealed at the Game Awards on December the 8th. Presumably the long-rumored Crash Bandicoot Woomba League. I don't know what that is, but okay. Thanks to an art book which has mistakenly been shipped early to some customers, Gotham Knights spoilers have begun leaking online, so beware out there. Square Enix issued a warning to players, that hackers are attempting to access Final Fantasy XIV's account management system, so beware of that also. Website GamesIndustry.biz reported that Payday developer Starbreeze has returned to game publishing, likely as a means to stem the bleeding from their significant financial trouble. As such, they announced a publishing partnership with developer Walking Tree Games for their game The Tribe Must Survive. Outsourcing firm Keyword Studios has expanded their footprint in Australia, launching 2 new studios in the country. Tantalus South is located in Adelaide, while Tantalus North is located in Brisbane. I don't know
Is
if that's how you say
Brisbane
that, but
is Brisbane north of Adelaide?
I would hope.
Okay, I was just worried.
I don't know. Everything's upside down there, so it's probably south.
Yeah, so I was confused by
Mm-hmm.
Tarantula South.
Yeah. Website Push Square reported that a website called The Leak has claimed that developer Valve's Half-Life Alyx is coming to PSVR 2 in 2023. We'll see about that. Sony has poached Nike executive Andrea Perez to be the senior vice president of brand, product, and services marketing. At Nike, Perez was the global vice president for Jordan Women. Hello Games released the latest major update for No Man's Sky this week. The 4.0 version of the game is called a Waypoint, and it rebalances many of the game's systems to make it easier for both newcomers and veterans alike. Additions include a new information portal, increased level cap, custom games, a new relaxed mode, and more. It's crazy how they support that game. The Disney Plus app has been upgraded on PS5 to now support 4K and HDR. The upcoming Guilty Gear Strive crossplay beta will be free for everyone to play on PS4 and PS5. It begins on October the 14th and runs until October the 17th. JRPG Soul Hackers 2 will add new demons, high-speed battles, and a dash ability in a free November update. With Stadia now dead, developer Tequila Works announced that they will be bringing their horror game Guilt to other platforms, including presumably PlayStation. 2021 Game of the Year Chivalry 2 received a new update this week, which added a new Hippodrome map, dual-wielding fist weapons, called Katars, and a new dedicated playlist for mounted warfare. Dope. The Callisto protocol will take 12 to 15 hours to beat, with hidden pathways and secrets that can extend that time, according to developer Striking Distance Studios. After the debacle that was Cyberpunk 2077's launch in 2020, developer CD Projekt Red revealed that they will now test games on all platforms equally moving forward, not just on PC. What the fuck?
Oh, brilliant.
I mean, yeah, how's that not a thing before? That's just unbelievable. Also, Ghost of Tsushima developer Sucker Punch Productions celebrated their 25th anniversary this week. Your boys. Dark comedy Metroidvania reality show dating sim Romancevania was announced to be coming to PS5 in early 2023. It's one of the most unique sounding games I've ever heard. Roguelike game Dead Cells is getting a new boss rush mode on PS4 and PS5 later this month. Pixel art retro smash 'em up game, think Rampage here, Terror of Hemosaurus is releasing on PlayStation on December the 5th, and it looks awesome. You need to look this game up. It looks awesome. It can be played in 4-player co-op. You just destroy towns and shit. It looks awesome. You grab helicopters and blow them up. It's cool. Also, website PlayStation Lifestyle reported that the Silent Hill movie director Christopher Gans revealed in a recent interview that Team Silent, the original creators at Konami, are working on quote-unquote several new Silent Hill projects, which he is involved with somehow. Apparently, some players in North America have been put on a 2-month-long wait list to join PlayStation Stars after they tried to sign up when the program launched earlier this week. Why do they do this stuff? I don't understand why they're so bad.
Why is it? Why do you? Why do you be on a wait list for? Just what do you mean?
Yeah, what's their wait for?
Put you into the thing.
Yeah, what's their wait for? Jesus. Also, website. Oh my God, stroke. Website PlayStation Universe reported that the following games received update patches this week: Warzone, Diablo 2 Resurrected, Conan Exiles, Hitman 3, Gran Turismo 7, PUBG, Chivalry 2, Fortnite, Splitgate, Tekken 7, and Kena Bridge of Spirits all received updates. So if you've been waiting on some fixes or new content, you might want to look into that. A Plague Tale Requiem will take up 46 gigabytes on your PS5, and preloading will begin on October the 16th. A PS5 version of Shadow Warrior 3 has been rated in Germany, so a release is surely imminent. Bethesda has confirmed that former PS5 exclusive Deathloop and their other RPG, Dishonored, share connected universes if you care. Website Gamatsu reported that a native PS5 version of action RPG Warhammer 40,000 Inquisitor Martyr will release on October the 17th. It will feature native 4K high-res textures, improved physics, cross-gen multiplayer, and support for the DualSense controller. I'm intrigued by this. I didn't realize what this was. This is like a Dead Nation, like isometric, like Diablo style shooter game. So this looks pretty cool. I'm gonna keep my eye on that. Also, a demo for a life simulation game at Doraemon Story of Seasons, Friends of the Great Kingdom, is now available on PS5, as is a 3-hour trial of Dying Light 2 for PlayStation Plus Premium members. Overcooked All You Can Eat is getting a World Food Festival update on October the 12th, which will add new biomes, chefs, and recipes.
Are you ready for Overcooked Jeffrey Dahmer?
Dude, yes, 100%. Can't believe somebody hasn't done that. Arkanoid Eternal Battle will launch on PS4 and PS5 on October 27th. Publisher THQ Nordic announced that SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Shake will launch in 2023 on PS4. And if you shake it more than twice, you're playing with it, Travis.
Mm-hmm.
Dungeon RPG Labyrinth of Galleria The Moon Society will launch on PS4 and PS5 on February 14th. Also, The Legend of Tianding, whatever, will come to PS4 and PS5 on Halloween, October 31st. The next gen upgrade for Dragon Ball Z Kakarot will launch on January 13th worldwide on PS5. It will be a free upgrade for current owners of the game on PS4. Two new DLC characters were announced for Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, Gamma 1 and Gohan from Dragon Ball Superhero. Both are coming in the Hero Justice Pack 1 this fall.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's
You're
great.
gonna get that? I might go on and not get it.
Gohan, get out of here. And finally, Travis Gamatsu reported that board game Catan, formerly known, what isn't it known as Settlers of Catan? Whatever,
I
is
thought
coming
so.
to, yeah, me too. It's coming to consoles and will launch on both PS4 and PS5 sometime in 2023. It will include both local and online multiplayer with the ability to download a phone app for local play to view your cards and keep other players from seeing your hand. Pretty
That's
neat.
cool. Yeah.
Mhm. And that is all for the news this week. A very meaty week of news. And I'll now turn it over to Travis for this week's new game releases.
On the 4th, we have Alfred Hitchcock Vertigo, which sounds interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Dakar Desert Rally, Overwatch 2, Yum Yum Cookstar. On the 5th, we have Cuties Hacked. Oh no, someone stole my photos. Oh
Ah.
god. Ooh.
uh
Uh-huh. We have Revelia Dungeon Raiders
huh.
and Stroke the Rabbit. That is a hell of a day. There's a lot going on there.
Oh man.
Usually when somebody steals your photos, somebody else strokes the rabbit.
Especially if there's cuties involved.
Yes. October the
Mm,
6th, we have A Frog's Job, Candy Match Kitties,
what is going on?
Cubic Band, Falling Out, NASCAR 21 Ignition Victory Edition,
That's cool. It's
Medieval
2022, by the way.
whatever.
No, I'm
Medieval
saying they
oh,
named the game 21, but we're in the year 22. Is what I'm saying.
they suck at making games.
Yeah.
Um, Medieval Dynasty, Serious
Hmm.
Sam Siberian Mayhem, Super Jaeger
Oh, so
Bombs,
there.
Jaeger Bomb, Jaeger Bomb.
Jaeger bombs.
On the 7th, LOL Surprise, BB's Born to Travel. Sounds terrible. Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3, Slime Speedway, which you also get after some cuties get their pictures hacked. Then we have
uh,
Rocket EO.
yeah. What
I don't know
is
what's
some of this
happening.
horse shit that comes out on PSN every week? Jesus Christ. Let's see.
I would
Is
play
there
Dakar.
even?
That's about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess really objectively, Overwatch 2 is the biggest game this week. Medieval Dynasty and Dakar Desert Rally are both of note for me. And I'm going to talk about that here in just a moment. But some of this other shit, man, Jesus Christ, terrible. Super Jaeger bomb. All right, so that's all for the new game releases this week. Travis, let's start to wrap the show up here like we always do by discussing what we've been playing and anything that we're looking forward to. What's on your mind?
So, I signed up for PlayStation Stars, up level 2. Small bone to pick. I got some trophies last night, and they did not it did not count them. So the trophies that I got 2 super rare trophies last night on Hitman, and my
Uh
question
huh.
is, I was playing the PS4 version, is that the problem? Does it have to be PS5?
No, I think the trophies have to be uncommons, correct? I think you have to literally get like the specific level of trophy it says.
Okay, because I had some that are, like, super rare, top of the triangle, like,
Yeah,
less
no,
than
I think you have to.
1%.
Yeah, I don't think they'll give you credit for that. I'm
Uh,
I'm gonna guess that if you have to have 100 uncommons, I think it's 128 uncommons for one of the tiers. I think you have to literally get uncommon trophies.
oh, that's dumb. Anyway, played Battlefield, was miserable at it last night. Night before that, it wasn't too bad. I've been chasing people around with the lady with the, health gun. I've been trying to get that trophy where you get 3,000 in a game, and I'm really good at getting 2,500, so for some reason, I can't get over the hump, but eventually, I'll probably get bored of that and quit doing that.
Yeah,
Since the update, though, we were talking about it, a couple of the guns feel a little bit different, they shoot a little bit different.
I agree.
I like that what gun am I using? Like the 40 or something like that, MP40, I don't know what it's called, but,
Oh, the AM40?
yeah, that one. You just if you just pull the trigger, it gives you a burst. If you hold it, it's full auto. Really like that. It's pretty versatile, especially with a decent scope on it. Really enjoy that gun. Played a little GT7 this week. It was fucking terrible. Tried to do a race online and I got pit maneuvered immediately, like on the first lap. Some dude just like I passed him on the outside of the turn and we were coming down the straightaway and I had the inside lane for the next turn, so I was gonna complete the pass and he literally just pit maneuvered me. So
Jesus Christ.
the only good thing about it was the physics felt really good. Like, in the
Oh.
past in the past when I've gotten pit maneuvered, it's like the car doesn't wanna go, but, like, it actually kind of it just went, which is what you'd expect, but it was still annoying.
Mhm.
Tried to do another race, and the same something similar happened. I think I just got pushed off the road, and I was just like, "I'm done with this for today." It was like, why bother at that point? I forget the track. I think we were at Suzuka and, like, I only got 1 lap in before the race to qualify, so I had, like, 1 lap of practice in, and I still qualified, like, 3rd, and I was like, "That's not good," because it should take me, like, 30 minutes to put in a decent time, but,
Mhm.
yeah, it was the same thing, like, 1st or 2nd turn, some guy just ran me off the road, and I was like, "I don't have time for this," so I quit doing that, and then I re-downloaded all the Hitmans, so I decided that, the freelancer stuff came out, and I decided I wanted to get 5 stars, silent assassin on every single level, so because of the way I downloaded the games, I think I already have it on Hitman 3, but I'll have to look, but the way I downloaded the games, Hitman 2 downloaded first, so for some reason, it didn't bring any of my save data from the 4 for 1 and 2, so I basically have a blank slate on those, but was last night I couldn't get 5 stars on the fucking advanced training thing of the boat, like, which was so annoying because wanted me to the way it wants you to do it to get 5 stars takes, like, 25 minutes, and I don't wanna do that, so, like, what I did was
Mhm.
I figured out that, like, right where I spawn, you spawn with a pistol, so you run over to the side and you use your vision, you can see where the guy is, he's on, like, the 3rd level of the yacht. You, like, shoot near him, you just shoot near him on the wall, everybody freaks the fuck out, he runs out onto the dock, you shoot in front of him, he stops running, you shoot him in the head, and you just exit the map. I did the level in, like, 20 seconds. And
That's
it
hilarious.
gave me 4 stars. I was like, What can I do? What else can I do?" Like, no, he's
Do
just
you have to
dead,
not alert anybody?
so I guess, but if you're I guess what
Mm.
I yeah, basically. I just did it as fast as you could without doing anything else. So now I have to figure out how to do it and fast as I can and, like, basically hide the body so I can get 5 stars,
Mhm.
but and then if you remember on the second one, you start the very first mission, there's, like, that beach house you do.
Mhm.
I remember the first time I did it, it took me, like, 35 minutes, and I looked at my friends list, and they all were in, like, the 20-minute range. I played around on it yesterday, and the fastest time I had was 3.5 minutes, and
Damn.
I got kinda stuck because I couldn't figure out I could do, like, the fif first, like, 75% of the mission really, really fast, but I got stuck, and I couldn't figure out, like, how to get off of the beach fast enough,
Oh, yeah.
and so I watched a speed run, and while he's running down the beach, you shoot this gas tank in the back of the truck, which blows up and everybody runs to it, and then you just go straight off the map. Well, it of course tells you that if you play the tutorial the way you're supposed to, it'll tell you that. But since I wasn't playing it the right way, I didn't see that part. Um, and then also when I watched the speed run, I found something on the level I'd never seen before. At the beginning of the level, you have to break into the house. And what I did was there was an open door. I went into the pool room. There was a screwdriver. I picked up the screwdriver. I walked around to the garage and like popped open the garage door box with the screwdriver and then shut the door. Well, I was watching the speed run and the guy runs in and he shoots this jar in the back of the room and there's a key to get into the house. Never seen that before in my
Oh,
life. So yeah, so then once I
I
did
didn't know
that,
that.
yeah, it was just like once I knew that, it cut like 10 minutes off of my time. So yeah, anyway.
Hmm.
So I'm playing around with that. I'm just trying to get 5 star silent assassin suit only on every single one just because I can. So and I get some more random trophies. So yeah, that's about all I've been playing.
Well, like you said, we played some more Battlefield. I played some with and some without you, and I think I played mostly Rush and Breakthrough this week. At one point earlier in the week, Rush was like the featured game mode or whatever, and I had a pretty good week on Battlefield. Other than the very end last night, where I don't know what was going on. No matter where I spawned, I was dead in 2 seconds, and that happened about 10 times because I had
Yeah.
like 20 deaths. And I was just like, I told you, I was like, all right, I'm done. I can't even walk. So, but before that, I was having a great week on Battlefield. Several multi kills. With I was blowing up trucks and vehicles and all kinds of shit. I had a pretty good week. It was a fun week on Battlefield, so can't complain there. I think we still got like half of this season left. We should get a new one like maybe right after Call of Duty launches. I think sometime in November. So we'll see what that is, and that'll be the third, and then we'll have a fourth one, and that should, as far as we know, that'll be the last one, sometime in early 2023. So we'll see. But I think the game is really good now, and I think that the launch was extremely rough, but I think it's a game that you can recommend to FPS fans now. But also played some NBA 2K23, more of that. Just not nothing too crazy. I didn't play a whole lot this week, but I got on and would play like a 3-on-3 game here or there. Trying to finesse the auction house to try to get some cards that I want. I got a Bruce Bowen card last night, Amethyst, and I'm trying to get that Amethyst Theo Ratliff because his block is like a 93. I don't want him to be my backup center, but he's going to cost me probably like 3 or 4 thousand. So I got to play some to get some coin to be able to get him. But I'm excited. I did not realize he played at Wyoming, which is odd.
That is
And
weird.
so anyway, and then the last thing I've been playing is Medieval Dynasty. There's no embargo on it, so I can speak about it. I am reviewing it for the website gamingnexus.com, if you please, and I guess share too much because I'll save it for the review. But I will say that the first hour or so was quite frustrating, and then it's really opened up after that. And it's one of those games that will suck you in, and all of a sudden you just kind of get engulfed in the various systems or whatever, and you're like, you look up and an hour's gone by, and you've just been like hunting rabbits and cooking meat, and you're like, holy shit, okay. So, so it's I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it so far. And then I have another one coming up after that. Once I can finish Medieval, my review of it, I've got to move on to Dakar Desert Rally. I have that as well. It just came out this week. No embargo on that either. So I'll be reviewing that for Gaming Nexus 2. Looking forward to that one. And yeah, so that's what my week looks like and what is upcoming for me. And with that, that's it for Travis. That's it for me. And that's it for the show. We'll get out of here now. If you guys enjoy, don't forget to subscribe on your podcast service or the YouTube. Also, if you can leave us a review, a rating as well, whether you've got stars or hearts or thumbs up. A written review is nice. A comment on YouTube is very helpful. A thumbs up is helpful as well. Also, if you could share us with a friend or a loved one who you think may enjoy the show, we would very much appreciate your word of mouth, that pretty little mouth of yours. And don't forget to find us on social media and discuss PlayStation with us at the DualSense Pod on Twitter, also on Instagram, Facebook. Our blog is the DualSensePodcast.wordpress.com. And yeah, just hit us up and tell us what you think. So we'll go now. You guys have a great week. Thanks for listening. Take care, and we'll talk at you next time. Bye bye.